Tim's News Explosion. 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 Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first Tim's News Explosion of 2022. Happy New Year to you all. Tonight is Monday, the 3rd of January. We are live on the Wilmsfront YouTube and DLive channel, as well as on the interactive Entropy software, which I've put the link into the live chat. Hello to all my regulars, Larry, Colin, Savnek, and Granny Annie. It is just going to be myself again tonight, which means it's going to be a 30-minute news blast. No panel show for a while now. It is just after 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where if you saw the Unshackled's Facebook Live on New Year's Eve, you would have seen that I brought in the new year down at the Melbourne Freedom Rally barbecue at Elwood Beach. It was scorching temperatures both on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day in Melbourne to bring in the new year, though I did see, despite it being absolutely hot, a few mask perverts, those people who wear their masks while they're walking out in the open air, fresh air still on a hot day. I always had a snigger to myself when it's like it's 35 degrees and you've still got your mask on, thinking that the Omicron is going to get you on a day like today, even though the beach, it wasn't that packed, I thought, compared to... Well, the news footage always makes it look busier than it is, especially over the past 2 years, to make it look at all these people enjoying themselves. They could get COVID, even though we never had a beach cluster. Now there were festivities in the Melbourne CBD this year, but I didn't see any of them. But I've heard that the fireworks were quite terrible. It was labelled the worst ever Melbourne New Year's Eve fireworks. Which I guess sums up another shit year under the Dan Andrews regime. The end of 2021 had one last tragedy in store for it: the death of US TV legend Betty White at the age of 99 on New Year's Eve US time. So she died on New Year's Eve, even though I woke up to the news that she had died on Australian New Year's Day, and she was 17 days shy of her 100th birthday. We all thought that she was going to make it to 100. You just thought and wake up to the news alerts. No, the reason why it's so heartbreaking, even though Hollywood TV celebrities die all the time. Everybody loved Betty White in this partisan political age where comedians, TV stars, they always have a side of politics that they root for. Everyone, no matter whether they were left or right, loved Betty White. She was... I remember her mainly for her role in the Golden Girls. I was actually first introduced to her. She played a Boston Legal main character, Alan Shaw's childhood neighbor, Catherine Piper, who became later his secretary. I know that she was well known for her role on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. I've never seen that because that was back in the 70s. There, she was the last surviving golden girl. The other three died over a decade ago. And yeah, Betty White, she was basically because she was as nice off screen as she was when she did TV interviews and that. She was always grateful she got to work right up until, well, her final years. She epitomizes what everyone thinks Hollywood should be, not what Hollywood is, which is a amoral, degenerate cesspool. So there'll never be another like Betty White ever again. It's I think the saddest celebrity death since the death of Joan Rivers in 2014. Savnik asked, "Didn't she have the second shot just a couple of weeks ago?" I have no idea. She probably had 3 jabs because well, she never made any public appearances in the last 2 years because she took isolation and social distancing very seriously, which is, I think, sad. She should have gotten out and enjoyed her final years. There was going to be a film to celebrate her turning 100. It'll still go ahead, but be a tribute. So rest in peace, Betty White. We all love you. Everyone who is into into shows, television, as I said, there'll never be another one like Betty White. I think the only remaining Hollywood TV US giant who is left, who is loved by everybody, is William Shatner. He is 90 years old, so let's hope that he makes it for many years. But this isn't why you tuned in tonight to hear my tribute to Betty White, because 2022 is the year of the rat. No, not the rat animal, but the rapid antigen test, because with the Omicron surge across Australia, including in the previous COVID zero states of Queensland, Tasmania, South Australia, and the NT. Omicron is spreading rapidly, though the science is settled now that it's an extremely mild variant, though the reason why we're told to be on high alert for it, because with the sheer volume of cases, it could put pressure on our health systems. And they obviously, with so many cases, they had to change the close contact definition, so half the workforce wouldn't be wiped out with close contact. So it's only somebody who has spent over 4 hours with a positive case, and they have to isolate for 7 days. And a COVID positive person doesn't even need a negative test to exit isolation, as long as they no longer have symptoms. And with casual contacts, you only need to monitor for symptoms. But it hasn't stopped all over Australia these types of ridiculous queues outside PCR pathology testing clinics. Yes, that was in Melbourne. Huge lines there. People masked in the. It was still pretty hot today, and yeah, people lining up there. And I noticed that the mainstream media are asking a lot of the people why they're there, and a lot of them are still there because, I've got a sniffle, and best to be on the safe side, do the right thing. Even though our leaders now are saying that if you don't have symptoms, do not get into the line for a PCR test, because you're taking that test away from somebody who does have symptoms, and the pathology labs are overloaded. And well, you would also you can also make the argument that all of this PCR testing is taking away from some of their other pathology activities. Like obviously, a lot of people would know that pathology do blood tests to see what you've got in that, and obviously they can't just do solely focus on PCR tests. They've got to do all the other tests for all the other conditions as well. So they're saying that our leaders are saying now that if you want to do asymptomatic testing, even if you're they even want casual and close contacts to use rapid antigen tests. But there's a shortage because people are panic buying them because they probably want to testibate themselves 4 times a day every time they go out to see somebody. They probably want to take a rapid test. And this was the line outside a Melbourne pharmacy this morning. Have I got this footage here? No, I haven't got this footage here. Just bear with me a moment. I'll get the footage. But yes, so yeah, there's rapid testing is now the new toilet paper. This is the new insanity here. I've got the footage now here. This was outside a pharmacy in Melbourne this morning. People willing to pay $15 for a rapid test. They're not cheap. And now the various state governments have ordered millions of rapid antigen tests that they intend to give out for free at state testing clinics. They haven't decided on the exact distribution. They said we don't know how to distribute them until we actually get them on the tarmac. That's what Victoria's Health Minister Martin Foley said today, though the Morrison government has said that it'll just, if we give them away for free to everybody, then the shortages are just going to be even worse. I mean, those queues are there of people willing to pay $15 for a rapid antigen test, actually willing to pay money. So you could imagine the insane demand if they're given away for free. I'm not sure. Apparently in the UK, they mass mail rapid antigen tests to people. Maybe the Air Force can drop crates of rapid antigen tests to homes in the streets, since we're so fond of using the military for things now. But though when it comes to, obviously PCR tests have been free, but they cost $150 per test. When they obviously they go through, there's the test themselves, and they go through these pathology machines. So for taxpayers to fund a test which is 1/10 of the test they're funding for free now, I mean, it would work out cheaper in the long run. But yeah, there's both at the state and federal level, they have no idea how they're going to meet this insane demand for rapid tests. And it's because they have programmed the Australian public over the past 2 years to be very afraid of this wicked virus. And obviously, Scott Morrison used the term gear change last week, but 2 years of fear porn doesn't evaporate from the public. The public overnight, and this is why you're seeing these ridiculous queues there. Our leaders, it's going to take a bit more for them to reprogram the population to live with COVID, and there are more rational reasons and voices are now making themselves heard. Former Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Nick Coatsworth, he's already declared that 2022, this is the year the pandemic ends. And this is also what the new Queensland Chief Health Officer says, Dr. John Gerard. We're going from the pandemic phase to the endemic phase. And Dr. Nick in this op-ed talks about how the case to fatality ratio of Omicron is likely to be less than that of influenza, and not a particularly bad flu at that. That will allow us to release all but the least intrusive of restrictions. And he includes references to what's going on in South Africa and also in the UK with their experience of Omicron. Oxford professor John Bells concluded that it's not the same disease we were dealing with a year ago. He's talking about Omicron there. But yes, it's obviously the new message hasn't got through to the fear stricken public, and a similar message was also put forward by the director of the Doherty Institute, which is obviously most people will know them from their modelling for the national national plan to reopen Australia, and for their Omicron modelling. So Sharon Lewin, in conjunction with another expert, Deborah Williamson, said our big COVID switch is wise, talking about the change to the narrowing the definition of close contacts and reducing the isolation period. So you're seeing, well, of course there's still the doom merchants, the so-called experts who continue to preach doom about the pandemic, and that we need a vaccine plus strategy, which is basically vaccines plus all the other restrictions, including lockdowns that we used before, basically having more of the same, and think that COVID can still be eliminated. So, but obviously the mainstream media as well still continues to elevate these doomsdayers, and also they still want to get the clicks as well. And so obviously with especially with the New South Wales cases now averaging 20,000 new daily cases every day, the hospitalizations have gone up to now 1,200 with COVID. So this is being spun as the hospital system is, it's about to be overwhelmed again, like it was during the Delta wave. But now the truth is getting out in this regard. That this is a sample of 2 health districts in New South Wales. Up to half of COVID-19 hospitalizations are admitted for non-COVID reasons, including broken bones and labour pains. And everyone who comes into hospital is tested on arrival. So yeah, even if they come for if they've been in a serious car accident, they're still tested for COVID, and then they're counted in the COVID hospitalization numbers. ICUs with COVID and ventilated with COVID still continue to be very low, and this is a similar trend in the UK as well. And we had our Victorian Health Minister, Martin Foley, basically confirm in Victoria it's the same thing. I mean, our hospitalizations are beginning to rise. I was at 491 with COVID. We had, record new cases today of 8,500. But he basically confirmed the same thing is happening in Victoria than New South Wales.
We are seeing people who are now tested automatically before they are brought into hospital, ticking positive in ways if they're showing up for their cancer treatment, if they're showing up for their broken bones or their car accidents. And as a result, we have to then treat those people the same way, the same COVID positive and safe way that we treat everyone else.
And now another scare statistic that the mainstream media overseas is putting out is that the Omicron wave is seeing more children in hospital with COVID. But even now, Dr. Anthony Fauci has admitted that the children in hospital with COVID, they're admitted for other non-COVID reasons.
But the other important thing is that if you look at the children who are hospitalized, many of them are hospitalized with COVID as opposed to because of COVID. And what we mean by that, if a child goes in the hospital, they automatically get tested for COVID, and they get counted as a COVID hospitalized individual, when in fact they may go in for a broken leg or appendicitis or something like that. So it's overcounting the number of children who are, quote, hospitalized with COVID as opposed to because of COVID.
So Fauci admits the truth 2 years later. And remember that Dr. Anthony Fauci has declared he is the science. So this is an undisputable fact now, which is going to make a lot of the doomers, COVID zero cultists heads explode there with Fauci finally admitting the truth. Now, with obviously, it's going to be a bumpy ride with Omicron accelerating the process from pandemic to endemic in South Africa. Their Omicron wave has subsided as quickly as it rose, and the peak is starting to turn in London and in Denmark as well, which is why now we should start to dismantle more of the COVID safe framework if we're going to fully live with this virus. And that includes, with the change in close contact definitions, that's pretty much made the QR check-in system redundant. So already some experts are calling for that to go, and definitely the vaccine passport and mandate system should go, given that the vaccinated can still catch and transmit Omicron as they could for Delta. We had another tragic incident in Melbourne with a man setting himself on fire over the vaccine mandates. This is one of the few occasions where a trigger warning before I play this footage is warranted here.
This guy sitting on the road there, he's just fucking yelling out, no vaccine passport, no digital ID. He's just fucking blowing his car up. Fucking burned himself and shit. Fucking hell, Melbourne. Dan Andrews, that's on your fucking hands, you dog.
Now, obviously, that's the second person setting themselves on fire because of the vaccine mandates. We don't know how long the vaccine mandates and passport will last in Victoria. They've been removed in New South Wales. Now the ramped up national booster program starts tomorrow with a 4-month gap. We already have Mark McGowan, McLeod over in Western Australia mandating the booster. Even though he's still chasing a COVID zero strategy, it's still the plan to reopen the state on February 5, though they've had a backpacker cluster emerge in the lead up to Christmas. So McGowan, he mandated masks in indoor settings and closed nightclubs and banned singing and dancing. So there was this this venue, the George, on New Year's Eve, where police scaled the building because inside the blocked out windows, people were singing and dancing. McGowan is the new Footloose premier. Obviously, Gladys Berejiklian was the original Footloose premier. Her first restriction was always no singing and dancing. But the COVID zero strategy in WA, it's nothing compared to communist China's COVID zero strategy. The lockdown in the city of Xi'an of 13 million people continues, and some people are now starving now because they're not allowed to go shopping, and there can't be food delivered to them. Now, you thought that Victoria Police's treatment of lockdown rule breakers was brutal with the rubber bullets. In China, they parade rule breakers in the street for public shaming. It's like the Cersei's nude walk of shame in Game of Thrones. Shame, shame. Now, it's fair for most of us to believe that Omicron won't be the last variant. There'll still be a fair few more Greek alphabet variants to come. But over in Israel, they detected a unvaccinated pregnant woman who had COVID and the flu at the same time, dubbed Flurona. So she has mild symptoms, though, even though she's unvaccinated. So obviously, the sensationalist media is about Flurona, fear of new variant. However, this article from the Times of Israel points out that it's not the first time of a dual case in the world, but reports of patients with both flu and COVID, Flurona, surfaced in the US as early as spring 2020. Israel has seen a spike in flu cases in recent week, with close to 2,000 being hospitalized amid fears of a twindemic of the two diseases. So last winter, those fears of a twindemic was not realized because of COVID-19 restrictions. Health officials say many others have been infected with both viruses, yet not being diagnosed. And of course, Israel is now rolling out the fourth dose, the second booster. The Israeli Health Ministry is studying the case to see whether it's a combination of the two viruses caused by the more severe illness. Now, this surge in cases in Israel, I think they're up into the 5,000 mark again. This is despite Israel not having open borders. They closed their borders due to Omicron fears, but despite that, cases are continuing to surge. Over in the UK, they didn't quite reach 1 million new Omicron cases per day. Last night, they only managed about 135,000, which was down on the 185,000. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, has said there's going to be no new restrictions in England, but that hasn't stopped the two power-tripping First Ministers, Mark Drakeford, known as Mark Prickford in Wales. He closed nightclubs and sports stadiums and introduced density caps on hospitality. Similar restrictions with Nicola Sturgeon up in Scotland. She's also known as the ginger dwarf from the north, or Jeanette McCranky. So those two power-tripping First Ministers sound similar to what our premiers have been doing with their power tripping there. Now, obviously, the other big story leading up to New Year's was the fire that became out of control outside Old Parliament House. Aboriginal sovereignty activists have been there for recurring protests, and they were performing a smoking ceremony, which turned into a fire of the building. The Aboriginal sovereignty activists claim that police pepper spray caused the fire to spread to the Old Parliament House. Although this footage here does counter that story.
Stand up and be counted. Stand up and be counted. Away! Stand up and be counted.
And now the permanent Aboriginal sovereignty protesters in Canberra, the Tent Embassy, they claimed that the fire had nothing to do with them in this official statement. It was blamed on Aborigines who had been brainwashed by anti-vax activists. Apparently, these Aborigines outside Old Parliament House were associated with the Millions March against mandatory vaccinations. Maybe they were brainwashed by far-right extreme white supremacists. This is the how powerful the far-right influence has become. They're able to brainwash Aboriginal sovereignty activists to commit acts of domestic terrorism against Parliament buildings there. So there's been some who've tried to spin it in that regard, though that narrative has been a bit more difficult to prosecute since Green Senator Lydia Thorpe, in a now deleted tweet, said, "Seems like the colonial system is burning down. Happy New Year, everyone. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land." Now, she deleted that tweet. It follows her appalling comments at Liberal Senator Holly Hughes, where she is believed to have said to the senator, "At least kept my legs shut," implying that then Holly Hughes wouldn't have an autistic son, which was a disgraceful comment. And the Greens, we will see, because obviously the Greens are an extreme party, but she is just going like she is making Leah Thorpe is making David Shoebridge look like a moderate, reasonable person. She is making Sarah Hanson-Young look reasonable there, and we'll see if the Greens have any spine to disavow this appalling senator. She is up for re-election in the Victorian Senate at the half election at the federal election in 2022. So we'll see if the Victorian Greens pre-select her. She was appointed to the vacancy of former Greens leader Richard Di Natale there. So we shall see. So that concludes the first Tim's News Explosion for 2022. Now, if you are desperate for a rat, there is this new website that's been launched called findarat.com.au, which has all the locations where somebody's reported that there are rapid antigen tests there. So if you're prepared to drive various all over Melbourne to get some rapid antigen tests, then if you're that desperate, you can go to this here. But yeah, apparently, just like what happened with the toilet paper, there will eventually be a flood of rapid antigen tests that we won't know what to do with. And before I go, this tweet put out by Western Health, which is being spun as as sign, our hospital system is under strain. Western Health in Victoria said our emergency departments in Sunshine, Footscray, and Williamstown hospitals are currently under extreme pressure. Please do not attend the ED unless absolutely necessary. Those with mild symptoms seeking PCR rapid test should not attend. Thank you for your cooperation. This is another thing. People, because they've been shit scared of the virus for the past 2 years, call an ambulance as soon as they've got their COVID diagnosis and have mild symptoms, thinking they need hospital care, and trying to hang around an ED for a rapid test or PCR tests. So our hospital system is also being clogged with hypochondriacs as well. As soon as they get a sniffle, it's like I'm scared that I could, be on a ventilator in a matter of hours, even though I'm double, triple jabbed on whatever here. So although we are on the path to endemacy with the COVID-19, it's going to take a while for the hypochondriac pandemic to end. I mean, there's obviously a lot of the people who are still shit scared of the virus. It's funny to read what they come up with, but it's also disturbing as well. How are they ever going to rejoin normal society without having to put on 5 masks to venture outside of their house as well? I mean, I don't know how it's going to end, how the pandemic's going to end for them. But that's all for Tim's News Explosion for this Monday. There won't be a Wilmsfront or Trad Tasman talk this Thursday and Friday. So the next time I'll see you will be for a Tim's News Explosion next Monday evening, 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time on the Wilmsfront channel. There will be a report from Tiger Mountain coming out in the next few days as well. So stay tuned for that as well, and keep checking out the Unshackled.net on a regular basis for our commentary as well. And also check out the Unshackled on Facebook to view our growing live stream archive as well. Thank you, everyone. I will see you next week. Thank you for watching, everyone. Good to see you back for the new year. Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News